when you can find a point in your life where you take the darkest, hardest moment of your life and turn it into the brightest thing that's ever happened in your life because you've grown from it and you're able to share with other people who are stuck in that,
Yeah.
that's where success is.
So let's talk about you, everybody. Hey, we got James Canata right here in studio. This is a guy that I met last week, 2 weeks ago in New Orleans.
Yeah.
We're at the 2025 National Dealer Conference for Roof Maxx. A couple things stood out to you. First of all, you're right here in Central Florida, thus, so I wanted to talk to you about that. But then also, man, your personality. I think today we're going to get a chance to see it.
Sure.
And you're an intense individual.
Yeah.
You got a passion for life.
Amen.
You've done an amazing job with Roof Maxx. You're looked at as a leader within that entire organization. It's very clear that people look up to you there. Constantly people coming up asking for your advice. And you're somebody that kind of captures a room with that over-the-top personality that you got, brother.
Wow. I appreciate that.
And so I really wanted to sit down and talk to you about a couple of things today.
Sure.
First, I want to talk to you, obviously, about Roof Maxx.
Yeah.
Roof rejuvenation, as we call it. Roof restoration, you could call it as well.
Yep.
Roofing contractors, blue-collar individuals watch this show all the time. I want to talk about what your experience has been with Roof Maxx.
Sure.
The second half of this, what I want to do is I want to talk about you as an individual. You've got a powerful testimony, and I think that a lot of people are going to be able to identify with that and take something from it of value for their life.
Absolutely.
With that in mind, first, can you just quickly introduce yourself and tell us a little journey of how you go from you're working at Lowe's for 20 years, probably thinking this is where I'm going to be, great company, and you somehow make your way from a bunch of other places into roof rejuvenation with Roof Maxx. Quickly take us on this journey if you can for us.
Yeah, sure. And thank you for the opportunity. I love to be
Yeah,
here,
good.
and your whole team's been great so far. So, but yeah, it's one of those things. I was grew up very in Massachusetts, didn't have a whole lot of money, broken family. Man, if you looked at my family, I love all of them, but nobody was successful. Nobody had money. Everybody was just kind of scraping by in life. Had a lot of hand-me-downs, but it was part of life. It's just you appreciate what you have, but coming to Florida, I was a hustler. I was one of those people always had drive. I was out there up north. I was raking leaves, shoveling driveways, mowing lawns at 9, 10 years old, knocking on doors, didn't even know what it was, but I knew I was out there just driven, right? Came down here day one in Florida, opened up the back of the U-Haul, grabbed my bicycle and rode down the street in Deltona, not knowing what I was doing, but I was going to look for an under the job table, found one, worked 14 to 16 for a little pizza place.
Nice.
Then from that point, worked at Sears. Man, I got my button-up tie, and felt like I was going pro, like the real deal, right? Clip on and everything, man. Short sleeves. It was horrible.
One thing I remember about Sears, they had those where you could take your family
Yeah.
and get the photos, those awkward photos taken, and some like,
looking off of the corner.
yeah. Hands crossed like
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
You can never get in the right. Anyways, that's what I remember about Sears.
Yeah.
So, but the good sales, I mean, back in, 50 years ago, they were known for the way they could sell a product. I mean, Sears appliances, everything. So you're going with Sears then, okay?
Yeah. So when I was there, I mean, you would have thought, I could have told my grandparents anything, but if I told them I worked at Sears, they're like, "We're so proud of you. That's a great company." And I mean, now look, they fell in the sea of sameness like so many companies. But anyways, did my time there. Then I got a job at Lowe's, and it was going to be kind of in the between, right? I was never the school kid. I skipped classes, got really bored, class clown, liked having fun. It wasn't really challenging, but I didn't apply myself. But I knew like school wasn't the thing for me. Nothing against it. But I got a job at Lowe's, started climbing the corporate ladder, thinking that every time I touched a position in a promotion, and I was a store manager, that it would be fulfillment, right? Here I am, man. I'm getting closer and closer. Here I am. I've attained this 6-figure income, and I've got to be satisfied because that's what they tell you. Go out and
Just gonna say Sears.
yeah. So I got there and I just realized I was a puppet on the strings of somebody else who was control every part of it. And fast forward 20 years at Lowe's, mom went through 2 types of stage 4 cancer. I thought I could handle everything. Then I was going through a divorce. I thought I could handle that and running a multi-million-dollar box store and 150 plus associates. And I was like, no, I got this. You know what I mean? Like I've got this. But man, took a leave of absence with some friends' advice saying, hey, just take a little time off. And I did. I started picking up my son from school. My son Gage is the love of my life and such a blessing. But I started picking him up from school and dropping him off and being involved in his life to a level that made me realize like I'm not going back to the 50, 60, 70 hours of the American dream to have a good career and sell your soul to the company store. I just realized it was somebody else's dream and not mine, right? So then I ended up doing a little drop shipping and private label the product through China, and literally worked like crazy on that. Got onto Amazon, found out the complexities in that. You're just a number on a page. Ended up stopping that. Did some wholesaling in real estate, and I thought, what rock have I lived under my whole life? And then a buddy I was doing some wholesaling with, we ended up starting to. He started doing some things in the solar world, and he pursued opening a solar company. And from that point, uh, I ended up going with him in this new solar company, and they put me as VP of installs, and that's how I found Roof Maxx, was
Nice.
through the solar world because I was trying to be a solution for a problem. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
brother.
so Edwin the
Appreciate
the Red Bulls. And
clutch,
there we go. Well,
clutch.
cheers, man. Here you go.
Yeah, brother.
Non-alcoholic, but cheers. Thanks for
Yeah,
being here. There we go.
absolutely.
Little energy.
Thank you, thank you.
Sponsored by Red Bull. I wish.
Looking for endorsements. Let's bring it on.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Um, so you get done. I love what you say right there. The American dream. You think it's
yeah,
going to be you make six figures.
yeah,
You got a 401k. You're working at a decent company. Obviously, you know Lowe's has got a good reputation.
sure.
Oh, great. But you're terribly unhappy.
Yeah,
And it sounds to me like you didn't know you were unhappy until you got a taste of what it could be like being with your son, doing some things and having a little more freedom with what your life was.
yeah,
And so you get into solar.
yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
tough leap right there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's it like in the solar game?
Man, I'm sure there's a lot of good out there, but I think there's a lot of bad out there too. You know, I think solar companies have given the roofing companies a good name, good look.
Rough go.
But nothing against solar. I think there's a lot of benefits to it, but man, it's just it's a complex business with a lot of transient installers. Nothing against it. There's some really good companies that do a good job, but we sat around a table and prayed about doing the right thing for our customers and for our employees. And fast forward, next thing you know, we're installing solar on roofs that are not in great condition, right? And it was one of those compromising situations where kind of talked about it and said, hey, red flag, we shouldn't be doing this install. My team called me out on an 11 or 12-year-old roof. Hey, we shouldn't do this install. So I was like, come on, it's 11, 12 years old. Even though I dealt with roofing at Lowe's, I wasn't a roofer. You know, I walked by and, hey, flat stack that, make it look clean and load it up. But I didn't know about roofing.
Yeah.
But as I got on that roof, I brought the guys out some Gatorade, saw make sure they're good, got on the roof, and I'm like, man, this roof is dried out and the shingles are breaking apart, degranulizing. I mean, it's just really bad. And I started looking up because they said, hey, we need to make payroll, put the glass on the roof. And it just didn't settle right with me. So instead of just being defiant to the company with what they needed to do to make payroll, we did the install. But I started looking up, why would this happen to roofing? Resourcefulness is your best resource. As I looked it up, Roof Maxx came across my plate,
Okay.
and I'm like, what kind of snake oil is this? First immediate reaction.
So what are you talking here? It's like 2021?
Yeah, end of 2021.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're looking at this. Roof Max comes up. It's like an ad, perhaps, as you start to look for this. They're retargeting to you.
Yeah.
All right. So your first impression is not a positive one.
No, it's doubt, right?
Yeah.
Because it's still new to the market. At the time, it's 5, 6 years old, and I've never heard of it, so therefore nobody else has probably heard of it, right? You think that you know it all, but man, it was one of those things. Whether you're caught up in the algorithm or it's divine placement, and you start wondering which one it is. But the more I researched it and it kept coming up, I was like, man, maybe there's something to this. So that's why I started reaching out to Roof Max and got on a couple calls. And the more I studied it, understood it, saw all the certification from people at Ohio State University and all the laboratory testing they did, and saw the validation of it, I was like, man, this could be a solution. So I brought it to the solar company and said, hey, what if we did this? And they're like, we're trying to make payroll.
Yeah.
This isn't something we can afford to do. And I was like, well, I immediately resigned and I stepped out of the position and took a leap of faith, man. But a lot of prayer, a lot of battling with self, the whole imposter syndrome. And is this what I'm built for? Because at Lowe's, I push a button and any report I want to come out. Well, now I'm a Roof Max owner and I'm looking to delegate something or push a button, and I'm like, oh, it's all me. I got the keys to the store and I'm the only one in it, So it was a dose of reality right from that point.
Well, sitting where you were sitting right now, Mike Fiesel was a few months back, who was one of the founders and
Yeah, great guy.
of Roof Maxx, and I believe that Mike would probably say that rewind 4 years ago,
Yeah.
there were a lot of things that needed to improve
Yeah. Yeah.
about the company, the business of it. Regardless of the product was great,
Yeah.
there was still a lot unknown um, about the actual industry of rejuvenation in general.
Yeah.
And they had to make a lot of things, the revisions to the company,
Sure.
how the way they did business, all that stuff in the beginning, you're trying to form and find your way.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, you were a part of that.
Yeah.
I'm more interested as we go to present day right now with
Yep.
Roof Maxx. I got a chance to meet you, as I said in the beginning, over there at their national dealer conference. What are you seeing now in the industry? Because you've stuck it in through people saying it's bad, no one wants to do it. Now more roofers are offering rejuvenation at
Yeah.
some level. Have you seen a shift in the industry for the positive? What are you seeing now?
Yeah, without a doubt for the positive, right? I think anytime you educate the market and the market actually listens and they see the testing, they go, well, it's literally proven. People are going on people have already done their second treatment and they saw the slowdown of the aging process of Roof Max. So, as soon as I bought my dealership, I was at Chamber of Commerce and all these different places talking about Roof Max. And I remember it. Somebody said, "Oh, you replaced the old Roof Max guy," and I'm like, "Oh, there was another Roof Max guy." And of course, the whole what did I just get into type thing. But then I was like, I kept showing up, I kept studying, I kept going out there and selling. And I saw the product. I'd go out and validate the product's working. And I was like, man, that stuff really works. It's kind of like, man, every time I did it, it was like Christmas morning because I'm unwrapping and going, man, look at the difference in the shingle. But as the stickiness started happening and I wasn't just listening to the negativity because the world is full of people who want to tell you how it won't work instead of making it work, right?
Yep.
So I started getting people like a buddy of mine who owns an inspection company in DeLand, Aaron Price at Super Inspection Pros. He ended up coming out and checking out the product, and he had me come talk to his team about it. And I was like, man, poke holes in it, man. Like, ask questions. If there's something I can help, let me do that. So we got on his roof after we did this meeting, and we looked at. I looked through his lens, and he looked through my lens, and what we look at. And he's like, "Would you treat this roof?" And I said, "100%." And got up on the roof, and I learned a lot from him, and vice versa.
Sure.
We ended up doing a treatment on his business roof and came out great. And he started coming out and we did little Facebook lives here and there. And he was doing 150 plus inspections, maybe up to 300 inspections at one point a month. So talk about somebody who's really in the community, a lot of community involvement. And now he's out there validating the product on top of everybody you see on YouTube and everywhere else, validating it nationwide. And then I had roofers too.
Yep.
Roofers, a buddy of mine at Swordsman Roofing, he came out and I remember one time we're at a chamber meeting and, you do your little 30-second speech and he got up before me. And of course, I built a friendship and there's a lot of biblical values that we have a very common ground on. And he got up and said, "Hey, I'm Nathaniel with Swordsman Roofing. And if you guys need a new asphalt shingle roof, call James Canata at Roof Max before you call me because he'll tell you if you need to see me." And I was like, wow.
That's awesome.
So I saw people start to understand it, and as time has gone by, it's another tool to have on your tool belt for a
Yeah.
real estate agent, for a home inspector, for an insurance agent, and for a customer looking who's maintenance minded. So it's definitely gained a lot of traction, especially with the national involvement and what they're doing on the national spend, and just people seeing the validation year by year that it continues to move forward.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest misconceptions that a roofer out there who doesn't know anything about rejuvenation thinks is that you're going out there to a roof that's 30 years old.
Yeah.
You're spraying a product on the roof and telling them they're going to get a new roof and you're screwing that person over.
Yeah.
Now, you and me both know that is not the case.
Correct.
I'd like you to talk a little bit about how you evaluate a roof
Yeah.
if it's right for roof rejuvenation.
Yeah. So a few things we look at, there's been Hail Mary passes, right? There's the people who say, "Hey, my roof's 20, 30 years old. Can you come look at it?" Really, another friend who's a roofer, he also said, "Hey, your product is perfect. Like people need it at 6 to 8 years in." And I said, "Oh yeah." And then I'm talking to this roofer who believes in Roof Max. He goes, "When your shingles start losing the petrochemicals and dries out because it's going through thermal shock all day long. Let's face it, this Florida sun is brutal, just like it is throughout the US, but it's really hot. So when those petrochemicals come out and it loses flexibility, your shingles dry out. And now the aging process happens faster. So by identifying it and doing it at an earlier point, more of a maintenance minded point is so critical. I've gone to 28-year-old roofs that look like they're 12 years old, and I've gone to 11-year-old roofs that look like they're 30 years old.
Yes.
You know more about that than I do because I'm not a roofer, but the proper ventilation,
Yeah.
the breathing in the attic fans, those things will, man,
Absolutely.
destroy a roof.
Of course.
So when we go out there, we're looking at the granule loss. We want to make sure that if it has excessive granule loss, if it's over 25% granule loss, I advise a customer your investment will be better put towards a new roof. If the flexibility is completely shot, if they're having leaks, if they're having deep issues, I do work with some local roofers who are really good who could do the minor repairs.
Sure.
But we're sealing up the vent stacks. We're trimming back branches that are rubbing on the shingles. We're taking a blower at a low setting, and the blower is looking for any of the flappers that are loose because the seal tab breaks. We're hand sealing those down, blowing out the gutter line, getting the roof tuned up. The tune up actually takes longer than the spraying. The spraying is easy.
Yeah.
But it's the first step is doing the tune up process, which is a lot of value in that. And then the second step is applying the Roof Maxx solution. And that's the 1-2 punch.
Yeah, I think that individuals who, well, let's put it this way, roofs are getting much more expensive today.
Oh, man.
The reason is because insurance is going to cover less and less of the roof. So the average price that a homeowner is going to pay out of pocket is going through the roof.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we can agree on that, then I think what we should agree is that every homeowner should look at how are they going to maintain their roof so they get more life out of it.
Right.
I think one of the things that attracts me about Roof Maxx is the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
To not look at this as the Hail Mary solution at 20 or 30 years that's going to give you 5 more years of life.
Yeah.
But rather, as you're saying, at 8 to 10 years, how can we add more life so it does make it to 20 or 25 and it's not giving out at 12 to 14?
Right.
So I look at it in some ways, you're talking about not waiting until the end. I think everybody, if you've ever walked into an old house, you're doing real estate, there's a sponge that's sitting there on the sink that hasn't been used in years.
Yeah.
You ain't bringing that sponge back to life.
Right.
You run water over it, it still ain't done, and it happened.
Yeah.
But if you would caught that sponge only a month or two from sitting on there and you put some water on it, you could have yourself a new sponge right there.
100%.
And so I kind of look at rejuvenation that way. You need to put these oils back into the shingle while there's an opportunity for them to absorb it.
Amen.
And then if you could do that, that sponge or that shingle is going to last for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
It's going to stop it from having that reduce granule loss
Sure.
to protect that roof better if there is a storm, hail that moves through.
100%.
That's the way I look at this thing and the value I believe it's going to bring to homeowners in the next 5 years who are looking to say, I don't want to replace my roof
Right.
every 10 years. I want to get 15 to 17 good years out of my roof.
Yeah.
Let me use this product to extend the life.
Yeah.
That's really where I see that's where I think the real value that hasn't even, I don't think you all have touched the surface of
agree.
what homeowners understand this product can do for them.
I literally tell people we're a solution for a problem you don't even realize you have.
There it is right now. Yeah.
And it's so true because so many people, if it's not leaking, then it's fine. They don't realize their roof is up there with a check engine light on, dying a slow death. Right.
Yeah.
And here's a reality. I tell people, your roof when it's new for the first 6-7 years ages like us, day by day, year by year, and it ages like it's supposed to. But once it dries out, I'm a dog lover. It starts aging in dog years now. So at 6-7 years in, now it's accelerating the aging process. So by doing that to slow down the aging process, imagine if we could have done that, obviously we're both 21-year-old guys.
Yeah, sure.
But imagine if you could have slowed that aging process down. That's what this does. It just gives more life for a fraction of the cost. And like I said, if you catch it early enough, you can treat a roof 2, 3, possibly 4 times. We go up to 15 years. So every 5 years you can do that.
Right.
And man, it just when the inspector comes out there on a 15, 20-year-old roof, it doesn't look 15, 20 years old. My friend Aaron says, it goes from walking on potato chips to walking on bubble gum.
Okay, oh, cool. Yeah.
Because it's crunchy and dry, but once we spray it on, it goes on topically, but it's a penetrant.
Like
so
a sponge, just bringing it down in there.
Goes in there and it bonds on the molecular level to bring back the flexibility. So
Okay, so you're talking about treat it. Let's just say, and I think a good way for viewers to look at this, if they're a homeowner that's considering it, or maybe they're a roofing contractor, or somebody's thought about getting into Roof Maxx, and they're coming across this. When I look at it, I think about Roof Maxx in terms of a vehicle.
Yeah.
You have to get maintenance on your vehicle, and I think that people should start looking at how that they should get maintenance on their roof. A $30,000 investment in a car, a $30,000 investment in your roof. You mentioned the check engine light; it doesn't come on when your roof needs some help.
Yeah.
So you need to do things that are going to allow that roof to last longer.
Yep.
Now, if Every time I brought my car in to get some oil, it was like, it's a $10,000 oil,
Right.
the people, I'm not doing that. The cost of maintenance is greater than it's worth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So is it affordable to have somebody every 5 years get a Roof Max treatment? How does that affordability play into a factor?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I think you can't predict the unknown as in towards like if your roof, if you don't do a treatment, now the chances of a blow off or a tear off happening or damage happening that can cause deeper issues with mold remediation and all these other complexities, or the fact that you're having to go through the roof or redoing everything. Now your plywood and everything's shot. I mean, there's so many things to it. So
Yeah.
the cost, I mean, you're talking 70 to 80% cheaper than a roof. So is it a cheap fix? No, it's a great alternative at a lot less expensive dollar amount, and there's value in it. So yeah, even if you do it and you allow that to happen, it's gonna add easily 15 years to the life if you're doing it every 5 years. So the juice is definitely worth the squeeze.
Okay. So are there any guarantees? Is there anything like, is there a warranty? Is there anything that if I said, okay, man, come on out here, you say, yeah, this
Yeah,
roof, we're going to go ahead and treat it. Do I get anything as a homeowner? And do you get any peace of mind in giving it to me as a contractor
yeah.
that this stuff is going to work?
Yeah. I have more confidence every time I have to go and do what's called the Higgs brittleness test
Okay.
and in the product working. And I know the product works. It's over and over again. I've gone out to customers' house that are friends or family and done a brittleness check on the roof. And I'm like, man, this stuff is absolutely amazing. Even to the point where I've gone to a house where I remember one time a house in Deltona I sprayed, and man, I ran out. I was running hard that week and I ran out like 300 square feet short. And I'm like, it's just spurting out. And I'm like, I don't have enough to finish this. So I told the customer, hey, I got to come back tomorrow morning. Are you okay with that? She's like, yeah, fine. And I'm like, I hope I remember where I ended. Man, I got back the next day, brother. And I literally, when I got to the front of the house, I saw exactly where the oil was and how hydrated this side looked and how dried out that side was. And when I tapped on the shingles where it got tree averse where it wasn't, the granules as I tapped it were just coming off. Where over here the granules were sticking again, and it's not going to glue them back on. It's not going to regrow granules, but man, to slow down the granule loss at any percentage. So that also tells you about hail impact, right? Reduces the hail impact too. So yeah, definitely works. And another thing I always tell people, my son has a truck. He's a DeLand boy.
Yeah.
And if we go off-roading in his truck's gonna get dirty, right? It's
Sure.
inevitable. Your roof's gonna get dirty. It doesn't clean the roof. But when we get back to the house, if his engine's acting up, I can care less about the dirt. I want to get the engine fixed because that's the issue. We're pretty much like the oil change maintenance guy. The cleaners do the cleaning side of it, but it comes with a 5-year flexibility warranty to get back to your original question.
Okay.
So every time we treat a roof, it's going to restore the flexibility, which is the biggest component of breakdown in an asphalt shingle roof.
Yep.
Once it dries out, it's like having a piece of paper. If the seal tab's given out and it's dry, well, any hail or debris is going to damage it faster. And if there's a windstorm, it's going to rip off shingles a lot faster and a lot easier as well because they're dry and brittle.
Yeah, I think in the North, especially, this is something that the Northeast, your Western states need to get on board with. Here in Florida, we don't have the extreme cold weather,
Right.
but I think that what I've seen out there is when you have that extreme cold weather, you get a lot of brittleness there with those shingles,
Yeah.
and especially when they're older. And when you have that wind that comes and they do an uplift, and now you're having that shingle crack and you have it break with some of these storms that come through, that's where you start to have a breakdown in your system.
Yeah.
I believe that this product in the cold weather environments is going to catch on very quickly. I mean, we've got an environment down here that's beautiful in Florida, but we have the big time storms.
Yeah.
So you need to be prepared for that. I really do like the price point where it's at right now because I do believe that it's affordable for somebody who's at least forward thinking enough to understand that their roof needs maintenance.
Yeah.
And that it's not just where you put it on and we set it and we forget it forever.
Yep.
And I think a lot of homeowners have done that for a while, but now with insurance changing and knowing they don't have a chance, well, I'll just, when the next big storm comes through, it'll be $1,000 and
Nope.
I'll get a new roof. It ain't happening
No.
anymore.
Right.
You need to be looking for ways that are alternatives than what you've thought of before.
Yeah.
Here's my question for you. What are people missing? Okay, like I know your job is to sell Roof Max, but is there somebody like you would say this product ain't right for you, or you know what, there's something that people think it's great for, but it's not great for that? Play the other side a little bit. Because everyone always talks about selling themselves for selling the product. Is there anything it's not right for?
Yeah, 100%. A matter of fact, I'd love to say that I agree with you on that selling being the number one thing. It's really not.
Okay.
It's about trying to find out if that customer, this is a true solution for what they're needing. We've gone out to roofs that didn't need treatment yet because the roof was still new and it still had flexibility and it was very minimal. So I look at it like this: if you have a gas tank and your gas tank is going down and that's on a quarter of a tank of gas, well, it's time to probably top it off, right?
Sure.
But if your gas tank's on full and I go to put more gas in there, what's going to happen? You're going to overflow. Like you don't need to do it on newer roofs. So, and we get a lot of customers who go, "Hey, I'm maintenance minded. I just want you to come out." I had a friend of mine said, "Just spray my roof." And I was like, he's like trying to give me the money. And I'm like, dude, your roof doesn't need it right
Yeah.
now. Like I don't want your money because you don't need it right now. And he's maintenance minded. But then on the other side of it, I've also had people who've left us reviews who said, "Hey, James came out here and he could have told me, yeah, I need a Roof Max treatment. I'm never going to get on my roof. I'm afraid of it. I'm not going to get up there." He could have took advantage, but Roof Max is very big on inspecting what they expect to make sure that the culture and the dealer network is consistent. And if we're going to put our name on it as a company and say this is the right thing to do, we're going to do it as a company. And a lot of Roof Max dealers walk away from a lot of roofs because they're too far gone. And if it's too far gone, once again, your best, Patrick, your best fit is to get a new roof. I know some people, if you need a contact, and I flip it over to a roofer. But I mean, last year alone, I could have added hundreds of thousands of dollars of revenue if the morals and ethics were not the right thing. But I got to put my head on my pillow at night and sleep. And so yeah, there's a lot of people who are not candidates as well.
Why aren't you like the roofer's best friend? I mean, I would think that if I was a roofer in DeLand,
Yeah.
let's say, whoever my roofers are in DeLand,
Yeah.
they need to be calling you, bringing you donuts to the office.
Yeah.
You would be the biggest lead source that I could
Yeah.
imagine in working with you. Do you have roofers that you work with right now?
I have one or two that I refer,
Yeah.
but I don't feel like it's always a good partnership. So I'm always looking for that because for
Get with
me,
this guy.
yeah, we go all the way out to the villages, down to Orlando, all the way out to Titusville, all the way up to as far as, gosh, one of my guys was in St. Augustine today. So we're all over the place. So having those relationships, because you're right, I'm gonna have to turn that over to somebody. So those partnerships are open for interviews, and let's go on a first date and see what happens.
They should they should be, because unfortunately when this stuff started to pop up, let's go back to 2021.
Yeah.
I get it. Roofing contractor looks at this and says, okay, they're going to go ahead and do a treatment on this. And instead of the person doing a replacement, now they're going to do this. And I lost money. This
Yeah.
guy is my competition.
Yeah.
It is just the most backwards way of looking at it that I can imagine.
Amen.
You're not looking to do a roof replacement. You're not even repairing the roof. You're looking to say, hey, this shingle needs a life extended it, and I can do that.
Yeah.
All the other stuff, hey, Mr. Roofer, we could be doing a lot of great business together.
Yeah.
Just like that roofing contractor out there, when you step in front of that person and they don't have the money to do a replacement, they're fine. They're right at the edge right there. What a great thing to be able to say, hey, I've got this service back here. This would be wonderful for you.
Yeah.
It's the right thing for you, for your family, and it's going to save you some money. I'll tell you what, though, in about 5 years, I think I'm going to be back and you're going to need me then, but I want to treat you right and do right by you now.
Amen.
I mean, if I'm a roofer, I'm looking for the Roof Max dealer in my area
Yeah.
and becoming their friend,
Yeah.
because you're such a great resource for them both ways.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, nationwide, that's something that Roof Max has tried to do. And there are the roofers out there that want to they trust Roof Max, they believe in Roof
Yeah.
Max, they see the effect of this. But let's face it, surgeons want to cut, bakers want to bake, roofers want to roof.
Yeah.
Right. So, but when you find out that, up to 90% of roofs get ripped off prematurely, filling up our landfills, let alone the environmental issues that come with that, and the cost impact on that, like, yeah, it'd be a great relationship to have a good roofer who's morally and ethically aligned, and we can convert these over, because the reality is the customer called us to be a solution to a problem. Even if it's not putting money in my pocket, if I could still be a solution and add value to that customer and still help a small business out there as well, brother, that's how we all get better.
Yes. And then what happens is that comes full circle, maybe not right away, but in the long run, 5, 7 years down the road, whatever it might be,
Amen.
it's going to come back to you.
Yeah.
If you treat people right, provide them a solution that they actually need, don't force something down their throat.
Yep.
Because this is, again, I mean, if I was to play devil's advocate on the roofing side, is the problem in the roofing world. It's 60%
Yeah.
of roofing contractors will not do a repair. So you've got this you got these contractors, or as I like to say, a lot of sales guys in khakis
Yeah.
that are showing up to the front door.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is convincing an individual that they need a full roof replacement.
Yeah.
They're not actually providing the service that they need because they don't offer that service. And I don't blame the person in the khakis at the door.
Right.
They're trying to make a living.
Yeah.
They're trying to sell the product they've been given to sell.
Yeah.
But if you tell me that you care about the homeowner and that you actually want to do right by them,
Yeah.
then you better have a solution for every homeowner that you're coming in contact with, or you're doing them a disservice.
Yeah.
And so even if you're not going to carry a rejuvenation product yourself, because I'll give you a great example. Guaranteed Roof is part of the Roof Maxx family. They're a roofing contractor who's carrying the service under the Guaranteed Roof name.
Sure.
If you're not going to do that as a contractor, then somebody like you, James, should be their best friend.
Yeah.
Because then it provides them another bullet in their gun
Yep.
that they can use to provide the right service for the homeowner.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that you're trying to do that. We don't repair roofs and we don't rejuvenate them.
Right.
So when you step in front of somebody, you really want to tell me that you're walking away from everybody who, unless they need a replacement, you're on, I'm good with it. I'm good. I'm walking. No, you're not.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. Don't tell me you're looking out for them and then tell me why I offer one service and I walk away from the ones that aren't. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
You're just trying to tell them and, finagle your way into like, yeah, you need a replacement.
Yeah.
You're trying to document the damages up there that they need a replacement.
Yeah, I think it's so important, and you hit on something there that really resonates with what we do in our process. And I tell my two sales reps, they're basically out there to be educators, right? And when they're out there at the house, we don't just come down and go, "Hey, Patrick, here's you qualify. This is what it's going to cost." We sit down and we review the findings. We show them the granules and the gutters. We show them the tree branches, rubbing the granules off, like having a full-time maid up there sweeping a roof 24/7.
Yep.
All the things that look innocent, but they're devastating to a roof and in the condition of a roof. And then we show them the photos and we navigate them through not only the background of Roof Maxx. Some of the things I'm really proud of with Roof Maxx, and you heard about it at the event. Man, the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption. We raised over $280,000 last year to help foster kids find their forever home. So there's so many things that Roof Maxx is doing that is more meaningful than letting the register go cha-ching. It's about truly caring about the customer, educating the customer, educating the market. I love going to real estate events. I love going to talk with inspectors, because now some of those referrals are coming in, right? I get a couple home inspectors into land, Bill Wright and Aaron Price, who are sending us, "Hey, Bill told me to give you a call. Aaron told me to give you a call because my roof doesn't need to be changed yet, but they think I'm a candidate. Hey, my local Allstate agent said give you a call because they can't endorse Roof Maxx, but they said that before I have my home inspection done, I need to have Roof Maxx come out there." So it's catching wings, right?
Yeah.
It's the momentum's happening, and I think a lot of it comes down to, I would say, karma. Like, I'm a big believer in Christ, but I feel like the way the company is going is built on the right foundation. That is why the ROI is happening, because we're putting the morally aligned coins in there and going, we're doing this because it's the right thing to do, and it's coming back, right?
The right thing to do is never going to be the most expedient thing to do.
100%.
And I think that what Roof Maxx is showing is that over the years,
Yeah.
they've continued to do things the right way.
Yeah.
And I think that Mike, if he was sitting here and I was to ask him, Mike, has it always been perfect? No.
No.
Listen, we've made mistakes.
Yeah.
But I think that the biggest key is that they've learned from those mistakes and they're trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And they have a product that does work.
Yep.
It does, I remember Mike saying this at the conference, it does what it says it's going to do.
Yep.
All right. And that's good.
Yep.
All right. And I think that often people look for the silver bullet. Is there anything? No, this product does what it says it's going to do.
Right.
And if used correctly, it's going to add life to a roof.
Yep.
It's going to give homeowners a great solution that's cost effective.
Amen.
But let's rewind it. I want to kind of switch gears here because you mentioned more than just the bottom line. And I think Roof Maxx is about that.
Yeah.
But there probably wasn't always rosy at Roof Maxx. When you're starting this thing, there has to be a part of you. You talk about that meeting where you're like, oh, the other guy who was here before you.
Yeah.
And probably the year that followed, there had to be ups and downs where you're constantly questioning yourself. And did I make the right move? Should I go back and do what I was doing before?
Yeah.
You got your son. I mean, there's things that are just got to be racing through your head.
Yeah.
I think a lot of men have been in that situation where, how would I put it? You're questioning yourself.
Yeah.
What was that time like for you as you moved through probably was a difficult transitional period?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, and it paralleled my spiritual walk as well.
Interesting.
So it's amazing how things are placed in your path at times that will show you opportunities to grow. So old me, if I would, if I wasn't walking where I was walking in faith at that time, I would have been doom and gloom and mindset, right? If you don't control your mind, somebody else will. But I anticipated walking into this that the first 3 to 4 or 5 months would be a loss, right? It's going to take time to look. I have enough money in the coffers to where I can go out there and I can do this and build up the name brand and help it because I knew where we're coming from. And look, there's a lot of people who started Roof Max before me that went through some, going up the hill both ways and snow that's 50 feet deep stories. I didn't have quite that story, but now looking back 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I went to the last Roof Max convention, night and day difference with what the company's done.
So what I want to know about is those years leading up in 2021, things aren't perfect. You've left a job where you're making great money.
Yeah.
You go to a couple other gigs, they're not working out. You're seeing some people that aren't doing things above board in the solar community.
Yeah.
You make this jump over to Roof Max. You've got your son. I think at that time you're either going through divorce or
Yep.
recently gone through
Just
one.
went through one.
I mean, you've got to, at some point, are you questioning yourself? And how did you work through those times where, as a man, you're looking at yourself in the mirror some days and probably like, shit, man, this is tough.
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
see this one coming.
Yeah. Looking in the mirror and going, if it's going to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, I can be filled with excuses or I can sit there and go, how do let me figure it out.
Yeah.
Let me find a way just because at the time, the national advertising marketing was not where it is now. So let me go out there and shake hands and kiss babies and let me go out there and network. Let me build relationships which I love doing. Let me educate, let me be a blessing to other people and the blessings will come back. So I knew that the first 3 to 6 months would be a challenge. And it was moments where I'd sit there and go, don't get stuck in a rut and sit there and go, poor me, doom and gloom, because nobody's coming to bail me out.
No.
So it's just like, man, the best way to become successful is realizing that the failures you come across are inevitable, but how do you come through those? So every time I had a no, I mentally prepared myself saying every no is just one step closer to the yes. Right. So it was one of those things as I was going out there and I was talking to people and they're like, I don't want to hear anything about this snake oil. I'm like, what could I have done different on the way I presented that to the customer? How can I position the value of the company and the value of the product because I believe in it and I didn't believe in it when I looked at it just like they didn't. So how do I do that? So I knew it was going to take time, but the more I showed up, the more I put in the reps, the more I was consistent and disciplined with being able to navigate through those conversations, it, the faith factor started spreading to other people. And once that happened, it started coming a little bit more organically. And as I focused also on Google reviews,
Yeah.
I asked customers, please leave me a review. I'm a small business owner. It really goes a long way. Whether it was a customer who we treated or even a customer we didn't treat, they're like, dude, thank you for being honest. I'm like, hey, if you could leave me a review, I didn't do business with you, but did you feel okay? Did you feel comfortable? And they're like, yeah, hey, James came out. He was phenomenal. He put me in connection with a local roofer, told me my roof didn't qualify, but he was honest.
Yeah.
People look for that, man. People look for truth and transparency and honesty. And it's unfortunately customer service is lost in this world in so many different levels because people just think, well, I'm entitled to get this and I'm putting in the work, so it should come for me. And, if I'm not gonna if something's failing, it can't be me, it's gotta be them, it's gotta be corporate, it's gotta be this, it's gotta be the weather, it's gotta be the sun didn't rise at the right time. All these BS excuses. And it's like, get out and make it happen. What are you gonna do different? And it's
Yeah.
just like, suck it up, buttercup.
Yeah.
Go out there and get it done.
I think that every man needs that time in his life where you don't have anyone else to depend on but yourself.
Yeah.
There's no one, as you say, there's no one coming to save you.
Yeah.
I think that's when you really find out who you are.
Yeah.
The best correlation I've ever heard to this is the United States military. If we go to war in the United States and we start losing,
Yeah.
no one's coming to help us.
Yeah.
And you've become something when you feel independent and you go into the battle of the day,
Right.
knowing no one's coming to help me.
Yeah.
All right. I am the last straw. I mean, I'm the one who has to get it right.
Yep.
No mommy or daddy that I can run to. Don't have the spouse that I can lean on. I'm going to do it all for me. And I got people that are depending on me.
Amen.
And I think that's when a man really starts to look at himself differently.
Yeah.
That, oh man, there ain't no one coming to save me. There's no call I can make that I'm like, oh, I guess I'm coming home. That home is the home that people come back to.
Yeah.
That's a real, there's a palatable like feeling right there that you get like, shit, I got to make it work.
Yep.
I got to find a way.
Yeah.
And for you, I mean, you had to go through a lot. I mean, you found Christ, I think, later in life, or at least refound Christ in your spirit.
Yep.
And you said that journey kind of coincided with what you were doing professionally. Is that right?
Yeah. 100%, man. I'll tell you, to get a little, go back a little bit,
Sure.
I grew up grew up with a lot of trauma, right? It was one of those things, and so many people do. We all have. You can't have a testimony without being tested, and we all have our different walks. But we realize that we're not. I hate to say this, but I'm not unique. I'm not the only one that has gone through physical abuse or sexual abuse growing up as a child, and really just impacting your life because those things that were meant to break you have broken you because you allow yourself to hold on to it, right? And when I realized that I can surrender and be obedient and let go of those things, and how much freedom I felt in not holding on to anger, greed, fear, uh, just wanting to just self doubt. When I started letting go of those things, man, it just catapulted so many things from my relationships that I found now, and a relationship I'm in now that is just God sent 100%,
Beautiful.
to the relationship with my son, to relationship with my community, to the relationship with my Savior. All of it has transitioned so much, but man, it's amazing how life can bring you these different seasons, and as long as you're willing to learn and grow from it, it changes. Because the whole thing about is it better to be a gardener in a war or a warrior in a garden?
Yeah.
It's like I know I have the drive to go out there and do the wrong thing and be aggressive and try to man control everything. But I also know that there's more effectiveness I can get by being the right leader in the community, the right light in somebody else's life. I mean, a candle loses nothing lighting another candle.
Mhm.
You're just spreading it, right? So it's like, how do I impact people for the positive, but still stay strong in my faith and my convictions? Because my life wasn't always that way. It was chasing the flesh, chasing the wrong things.
Yeah.
The world is filled with shiny objects,
Yeah.
and it's so easy to get overcome by the influencers and we consume so much that we no longer create. So
Yeah.
now it's like, man, we've got to have a balance on that.
Yeah, I like what Ed Milet says, that you're most qualified to help the person that you used to be.
Man, I love
And oh God, when every time he says that, people disqualify themselves. You heard him say, I went through this in my life before I, found Christ. So
Yeah.
you know what, I can't, I'm no one to help anybody. But it's because, like you said, we're not that different.
Right.
Everyone is struggling with that vice you can't see. I
Yeah.
said this to somebody earlier today, that I believe wholeheartedly the deepest, most profound prayer that you can have for somebody is that they win the battle they tell nobody about.
Oof.
Um,
Come on now.
and we all are battling with something every day we're not telling someone else about: a spouse, a child to their parent.
Yeah.
And it's something. And every one of us, when watching this, we think yep, that's my thing. And we all know it. And I think that's the prayer that I think for a lot of people, man, if they could just not have that pain
Yeah.
and know that, hey, there are other people that are struggling with that same thing. And that pain that you have qualifies you to help those other people.
Yeah.
I've never taken heroin. All right. I've taken a lot of drugs in my life,
Right.
but
Yeah.
that means, could I help somebody who's doing heroin? Maybe I could
Right.
tell them. But if I had done it and I had gone over it, I can help that person a lot deeper in a more profound way.
Yeah.
And so when I think about what you're saying, I think about all the people that have been there,
Yeah.
that have been through the sexual abuse and the physical abuse.
Sure.
And you've come out on the other side. And I'm going to tell you the other thing that I think about you. I think it would have been easy for you to fall into mediocrity.
Yeah.
Middle class, just that's good enough.
Yeah.
This was a struggle that I still come with today.
Yeah.
Because I grew up in a middle class home.
Sure.
And you worked in the corporate environment for a long time. It can be easy, it can get comfortable to be there.
Yep.
And I think that for me, I've got to battle against that mindset of
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Comfortable is okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, like for you, you not only have to battle against maybe that because you worked in the corporate world for a while, but then
Sure.
it's also, hey, listen, I've got to battle against these demons that I've had from my
Yeah.
past too.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It is, man, and it's, that I think one of the sayings that really hit me is, "Good is the enemy of great,"
Yeah.
right? And it's like we get so complacent and so good being good that maybe we're not realizing the impact of how it is to get great. And for me, great isn't saying, "Look how good James Canata is." Like for me, it's like, "Look how good God is," and realizing what Ed Milet also said was, what if the breath you're taking right now isn't for you, but it's for somebody else?"
Yeah. He talks about his
Whew,
father. Yeah. Oh, man.
man.
Brutal.
And then even when you look at Tony Robbins, and he talks about when you can find a point in your life where you take the darkest, hardest moment of your life and turn it into the brightest thing that's ever happened in your life because you've grown from it and you're able to share with other people who are stuck in that,
Yeah.
that's where success is. And that's why old me was ego. And as men, what are we taught? Suppress the feelings, push them deep down, burying them, and obviously they'll never boil over. Don't share these things with other people. And man, uh, being vulnerable with the right people who are going to elevate you and challenge you, but talk faith into you and talk truth into you, it's critical to have those people in your life.
I believe that it is. And I think that one of the reasons that people don't talk about, and this is my own feeling, is that individuals like you took a chance and you've become one of the most impactful dealers there is for Roof Maxx. You were doing great things at Lowe's. Okay. If you want to, when you started what you were doing at Roof Maxx,
Yeah,
you're probably, I know you are, you're a different person now than you were when you started it.
no doubt.
Great. So that means you had to become a different person
Yeah,
over the last 4 years. And you're probably a different man now than when you were when you first got married.
yeah,
Okay. We all have to change who we are to come to a different level.
yeah,
If you want to make 10 million in your business, you're going to have to be a different person than you are to make 1 million.
yeah,
I think the problem is this. Here's the way I've looked at it. When I begin to think about myself, I was scared to become $10 million man because I knew what I'd have to give up to get to be that person.
mm,
Meaning I'd have to give up going to the place I love to go on Friday night. I'd have to give up the drugs. I'd have to
yep,
give up the women. I'd have to give these things up so I could be focused to become $10 million.
yeah,
And so I was scared up here. I didn't tell anybody.
yeah,
I don't know I don't know if I want to become that guy
yeah,
because that means I got to give up the things of the flesh. I got to
oh,
give up the instant gratification, the drugs, the alcohol,
yeah,
the nights out, the party. I got that stuff I know can't happen for that guy.
yeah,
That guy can't do that.
yeah,
And so I've thought like, have I held back in my life? And I know the answer is yes,
yeah, inevitably.
because I didn't want to be that guy on the other side. I wanted to hold on to what it was to do 1 million to 2 million. I wanted to be that dude
Yeah,
because I was safe. That was comfortable for me.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But it takes a lot of change to go over to that other side.
yeah,
And I think that a lot of men out there are scared of the person that they could become
yeah,
because they know what they're going to have to give up in order to get there. And as you know, with entrepreneurship, if I continue on this soapbox, I will. There's no guarantee of success.
yeah,
So it's like, hold on, you're telling me on this side I can do comfortable
yeah,
and I keep all this, or I try to be this, I give all that up, and I could still fail.
yeah,
I don't know about this deal,
yeah, yeah,
and I think that's why people don't make the jump
yeah,
because there's no guarantee that you're going to succeed.
yeah,
You could freaking just fail on this side.
yeah,
5 years later, have
yeah,
nothing,
yeah,
and you did everything right.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's just man.
Yeah, the psychological mind, dude, it can tear you up, but then again, that becomes where you become so much into analysis paralysis or paralysis by analysis, however you
Yeah,
want to look at it, and it makes you hesitant. So I think one thing I heard you talk about the other day, and I thought it was great was what's your purpose, right?
yeah,
And man, it resonates. But people talk about purpose, but they truly sit there and go, "What is my purpose?" But there's a lot of people who have a fear because we have such a scarcity mindset.
yeah.
I remember my being coming from broke families and divided family. It's like money doesn't grow on trees,
Oh,
blah, and all these lies that we're told, and we start believing them. So as you slowly start realizing, like, man, like I can live a life of abundance if I just trust and disconnect from the masses, right? And it's one of those things like that's what I did. At one point, I was like, I'm at through a breakup. It was like, man, I realized I had to give up alcohol, and I took 30 days off and gave up alcohol. And, uh, and after 30 days, because I'm not very aware, I'm a typical man. Like it hurts, it doesn't hurt. I
Yeah.
just, I just keep moving. But somebody told me journal every day while you give up alcohol, and I'm
Yeah.
like, come on, what kind of foo foo BS is? But anyways, here I am
Yeah.
journaling. Dear me.
Right.
But after 30 days, I felt amazing. And then after 30 days, I was like, I'll go another 30 days. Next thing you know, my environment, who I hung around with, and it's not downplaying or talking bad about anybody, but when you're the smartest person in the room, or you're the most the most successful person, even if it's not success like somebody else's level, like you're losing something. I want people who are going to challenge me, who are going to stretch me, who are going to stretch my faith, who are going to stretch my ability to help others and be a blessing to other people, because the world needs a lot of help, right?
Yeah.
And the only way we can do that is by, like, for me, I I wanna tie to my church, more money than I made as a store manager in the next couple of years,
Great.
right? Because there's so much kingdom glory that comes from that. So it's like, how do I move that needle for the right reasons? How do I help people? Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption. How do I be a blessing? And it doesn't have to be financial. I mean, I was just at 7-Eleven grabbing something, and some lady's walking out and struggling. I hold the door for her and say, have a beautiful day. And you never know when that could have just turned that. She could have been suicidal. You never know the impact you have on people. So to truly care about people, because you have lessons and blessings in everything we do. Whether it's good, bad, or ugly, what's my lesson and what's my blessing from that event that just happened?
Yeah.
My divorce, what's my lesson? What's my blessing? My successes, what's my lesson? What's my blessing? When you start coming from a heart of gratitude, man, it fills you different, right?
Yes.
And then it spreads different. You start becoming contagious to other people. And now the level of it, like, dude, you hosted that event for Roof Maxx, and you did a phenomenal job. And I was like, man, that guy's a badass. He's a real deal. You may have got up there and been like, you may not have felt that way. I don't know. We all go through imposter syndrome, but
Sure.
I also felt humbled by the recognition from Roof Maxx, because I'm not this stand in front of people and dance and
Yeah.
get on the microphone type of person. I'm the what do I do with my hands type of person. So to get in front of somebody like you and talk with you, you start bringing in the people that really can move the needle for you to impact more people.
So, what do you think it is about you when it comes to Roof Max? I mean, there are people out there that can sell a product,
Yeah.
but I know Mike well enough now. We spent some time here. CJ's done a lot of stuff for Mike, and I don't know how many hours of footage you probably watched Mike Fiesel.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
CJ was doing that project, and so I know this well enough about Mike that he's usually thinking a few steps ahead. All
Always.
right, and there has to be something else about James. What do you think it is? Why you? Because there's other dealers, hundreds of other dealers out there, but there seems to be something that they've picked out in you. I'm curious what you think it is, without being humble. Because here's my thought about reason why. I think that a lot of men and people who watch this show struggle to identify or even say what they're great at. I mean, like, we all are gifted with something,
Yeah.
right? We have the God given ability that we're better than most people at it.
Sure.
CJ over here is the best teacher on our team.
Yeah.
He teaches people so well, but that doesn't come, there's something in him that
Yeah.
innately makes him a great teacher to people.
Yeah.
There's something in you. What do you think it is that makes you great at what you're doing right now? What is that God given ability in James? I'm curious.
Man, I feel like I truly, sincerely care,
I,
and I know
no, I agree with you.
that may not seem like a superpower, but I think it's
No,
lost. I like being present in the moment with an individual, because I've lost so many moments that I can't even remember due to alcohol and stupid decisions, right? So to be so present and eliminate ego in order to be able to talk to people and try to navigate them through and truly listen to people, because you want to make a difference in their life, I think is the differentiator. Because I don't look for a monetary kickback when a Roof Max dealer who's struggling comes up to me. I don't look for anything coming back. I love people, man. It's my job to love my neighbor, and to sit there and go, let me be a blessing in somebody's life by having a conversation and being present, because it's so quick. We're distracted on phones, like technology, but man, I just try to love people and add value to people every single day. I have this acronym. You bag your day, put your day in the bag, be a blessing to others, add value, and guide them. Help guide them in the direction. Oh, and the other one was guard your mind. So be a blessing, add value, and guard your mind. So it's like one of those things. Like, God, give me the ability to go out and be a blessing to somebody today. Please put that person on my path and give me the ability to speak to them in a way that only you can show that I can help them. Help me add value to their life and also to my life, and help me guard my damn mind, because my mind, you know how it is, man. You get distracted in a heartbeat, and the anger, somebody cut, you're leaving church and you're all happy and fired up, or you just left a great business meeting and all of a sudden somebody cut you off and you're already going to, wait a second. Is that really where I need to be? How can I be the best version of me?
Well, I love what you say about being present in the moment. This is just yesterday, and I was heading over to Claremont. I went to the doctor, heading over to Claremont. I'm in traffic. I'm upset, and I for whatever reason, called the Lord Spirit,
Yeah.
who's ever watching up above me, overhead.
Yeah.
I got this feeling that stop, man, just look around. It's a beautiful freaking day.
Yeah.
What are you worried about right now?
Yeah.
Honestly, what are you worried about, Pat?
Yeah.
And I'm like, things aren't good. But for some reason, I just felt angry. I'm like, why? Let it go.
Yeah.
Roll the windows down. Put something on a little too loud and listen to it and enjoy this one moment that you have for 30 minutes. You got a dog in the car,
Yep.
windows down, and you're just going to enjoy this moment and be present in it.
Yeah.
Is it going to make you a better person? Or you listen to some news or you podcast? It's going to make your business better? No, but man, does it feel good for 30 minutes to let go of that anxiety, stress, and anger and just be there present in that moment.
Amen.
And I don't think we do that nearly enough, especially an entrepreneur. I've said the analogy before that I feel like it's a flip book going through my head sometimes,
Yep.
and everything's like, boom, boom, boom. What do I have to do? It's a different picture every single time I flip through it, that entire thing.
Yeah.
That to be able to sit there and be present for a couple moments
Yeah.
and just enjoy the moment that you're in with a person or with nature or with music, that's special.
Amen.
I think that's why I like doing this, because you actually get a chance to talk to people.
I love it, dude.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
nice, ain't it?
Yeah. It's refreshing. You ever read the book, The Gap and the Gain?
Yeah. So it's funny you say that. So I have this thing right here. I wear it all my team knows it. It says stand in the gap.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. And it's amazing because some of those things, like I was always the one I hated. Dude, I don't think I read a book till I was 40 years old. Well, I despised reading.
Yeah.
But then I recognized the fact that if, readers can be leaders if you're actually putting into action, and it's really important to take massive imperfect action, because if you fail forward, you're still moving. But man, reading and digesting, but also not entertaining yourself with the stuff you're seeing or you're reading, but putting it to action is so important. But The Gap and the Gain, what a great book. Mike Fiesel actually turned me on to that, but now I'm like a consumer, but now I have to find that balance. Like I talk to my son, I'm like, dude, get off your damn phone. Like I'm trying to talk to you. Should I text you? Should I, but now he's being more present too. So you see you're impacting other people when you do things right. But I think we're such, like I said earlier, we're such consumers. We don't know how to create anymore.
Yep.
I'll sit there and watch Shark Tank and be like, why did I think about that? Why did I think about that? But then I'll be dazzling myself with data and all this stuff, but I don't sit back and sit on my deck and go, what can I improve in this world? Like, how can I impact people on a bigger level? And when you start looking at that and smelling the roses and appreciating the fact that you have breath in your lungs and you're able to drive down a highway and you're able to be, you're on the safety side of being in that car with your dog instead of the one who got in the accident.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you realize like maybe that failure, or that, they say God's rejection could be your protection, right? So it's one of those things like, that's why old me used to get pissed off. I'm leaving the house and I'm running behind. Traffic's going on. What's going on? These idiot drivers. And I'm angry at the world. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting there going, let me look at this from a different set of lenses. Like I was slow getting out. It's my fault. I could have got up earlier and taken ownership, right?
Sure.
And just going, I could have controlled this, but also maybe I need to pray for the person who's up there in the accident or for whatever happened, because a lot of people are being impacted. Like just look at everything from a moment of gratitude, and man, it really just puts things in perspective. I went to Guatemala and a lot of different countries, and when you see these third world countries and they don't need the hustle and the hype like America does, and I love America. I'm a fan, sitting by this flag alone is pride, but at the same time, it's like you realize when you see what other people are walking through, but they're appreciative of all the small things. It's like we have the same ability to be appreciative of all the same things, or all the small things. I think it's important that we do that.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
I got a couple of things I want to talk to you
Yeah.
about here because there's one we haven't mentioned here, and that's you being a father.
Yeah.
And I know how much your son means to you. We were talking a little bit there in the pre-show, and you were talking about Gage and just,
Yeah.
just being the highlight of your life, being a father to him.
Yeah.
And can you tell me a little bit about just as a father, have things changed in how you look at entrepreneurship? Has it changed how you look at work and life? How's that responsibility shaped you? I know come on, it's a loaded question to talk.
Yeah.
You could probably talk for an hour about that.
Yeah.
But I'm curious for you because you're not a perfect man. None of us are.
No.
Um, I'm curious that, do you ever like, man, how do I teach this man to be a better man? Who am I to teach him? Because I did all these mistakes, and
Yeah.
how do I lead him to not make the same mistakes I did, but still allow him to have his own path in life?
Yeah.
Are these things that you've thought about? And
More than probably anything, it's one of those things. I remember when he was first born, it was like immediate waterworks for 45 minutes that I had no control because I delivered him and I cut his umbilical cord and I was like, "Oh, this is like, why is anybody thinking that I'm good enough to have this child? This is not like what is going on." But I felt so blessed. So it made me work harder, right? At that point in my life, I was, his mom were separated, and I was still living in the flesh and doing the wrong things. But I was climbing the corporate ranks, left the sales commission job at Lowe's, and started going through the. Believe it or not, I was making less money as I climbed through the corporate ranks than I was as a salesperson. But I also realized like there was a sense of security getting to the store manager level. It's funny because my old store manager, "Hey dude, you don't want to be a manager? I don't blame you." And then I was like, "Hey, I want to be a store manager." He's like, "What the heck?" But I saw their bonus checks and I was like, so next thing you know, I thought fatherhood was providing from a financial aspect, and it was to some extent, right?
yeah.
I didn't want him to struggle like me. I didn't want him to see mom crying or dad crying, broken because in a relationship destroyed because of those things. So I think as the seasons have changed and he's seen me become a better man, it made me recognize how much he has his eyes on me. And you don't realize, and praise God that he did have his eyes on me. But there's times he's like, "Dad, I want to be a store manager like you," and "Dad, I want to do this like you," and "Dad, I want to do this like you." And it's like, and here I am teaching him what I know. We'll go to school and work hard. You gotta work hard. Don't be afraid to fail, and you gotta put in the hours. It's like that's BS. Like it does work for some people, but then there was a point when he said, "Dad, like I can't wait till I can get a motorcycle and we can go out and have a beer or two and drive from one spot to the next." And I'm like, "Ooh, the shadow we cast is getting real." And he saw broken relationships,
Ugh.
and he felt broken relationships. And I was like, man, what, like I'm giving myself more credit than I feel like, because I feel like, well, I'm doing the best I can. I wasn't. I was lying to
Mhm.
myself. I was lying to the people I was in relationships with. I was lying to him. I was lying to God, not even know he was there with me every step of the way. And it was amazing when I gave up alcohol and he started seeing these things with the growth of the business and the growth of a good, healthy relationship and just a thriving attitude and and outlook on life. And his outlook on life has transitioned too. So those growth, spiritual growth, and all those things, you don't realize the impact the shadow that you're casting to the people around you. And he told me, he's like, "Dad, like, I'm so proud of you. Like, I don't want to drink." And he's 19 years old. He's 6'5". He's a giant. He's
Yeah,
going to
I've seen the
school.
pictures. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to school for welding right now at Daytona
I
State.
saw the books, man. He looks passionate about it. I love that.
Dude, he's so fired up. I've never heard this guy. I literally thought I was going to have to drag a dead body across the finish line of high school. And now he's like, "Dad, I can't believe we don't have school on Friday." And I'm like, "Who are you?"
That's awesome.
So, but praise God for that. But yeah, you realize the impact you're having on them, and whether you're doing it right or you're doing it wrong, you're still the example,
Mhm.
right? And then when you sit there and you go, "Well, I promise I'd be the best father and I'd be a better father than my father," but just because I'm giving him the financial side of it, but I'm not giving him this side of it, I'm still missing the mark. And it's not about regret. It's not about if I only did, because that will never get you anywhere except living in defeat. But now, what can I do today to be the right person and the right leader for him, the right impact? And man, my son will grab me today and just walk up to me and grab me and be like,
That's
"Dad,
awesome.
I love you, Dad," and give me a kid. And just like he pulls me in, and I'm like, and he bullies me too,
There you go.
Yeah, it's been such an instrumental thing. I have a poem that's on my ribs that says May 8th, 2005, the day I learned to live and the reason I'm alive. And it's his handprints. And it's true, man, because he helped me become a better man. And now him seeing the faith side of it and it impacting him and his friends and him talking faith into people and him talking truth into people. I'm like, man, this is a beautiful part of life. And even saying there's definitely challenges,
Sure, of course.
but man, you just realize the impact you're having on other people and what impact you have on your kids and being present and there for them.
That's so I'm going to ask you one
Yeah,
final question for you. You don't have to answer this question, okay?
yeah.
Because this one I'm not sure we haven't talked about it, but I wrote it down right here. And I think this is a powerful way to end the podcast. And again, you can refuse the answer. Um, how how do you break the cycle of abuse? For you, you went through a lot of shit,
Man.
you know, and you talk about you want a better life for your son. There are a lot of fathers out there. There's a lot, let's just take it more, even more, more of an umbrella here. There are a lot of people that are managing people that have had crappy bosses. There are fathers that have been
Yeah,
abused and now they have a son.
yeah.
Um, and it's not just physical abuse, but mentally you've been through hell and back. How do you stop that and go, I'm not going to keep pushing this forward onto somebody else? Um, was there a conscious decision that you had to make somewhere along the way, and how did you come to that?
Yeah, I'd love to say it was therapy or it was one book or one
Sure.
thing. Uh, but when you recognize that the patterns you're creating are driven by you and you stop living to the point of pointing fingers at other people and playing victim, I realized that I was taking the blood of closed wounds and putting them on new people.
Oof.
And when you recognize that, it's deep, right? And I had to get to a level to where this anchor that was weighing down my life was slowing down what my possibilities in life were. And man, I had to learn forgiveness. I had to learn surrender. I had to learn to not look. You can say, being in the room with your demons is one thing, but getting the hell out of that room and not even being involved in those environments anymore. So I had to pull away. I had to take 6 months, 8 months of no alcohol, no partying, no sleeping around, no trying to find fulfillment through the brokenness. And as I learned forgiveness and I learned what that truly looked like, and I started walking in obedience and started walking from a place of surrender, which is hard to do as a man, right?
Yeah.
But I think we confuse that as not being a man. It's probably the best thing you can do as a man is surrender and be obedient and realize that uh, i- if it's broken, you don't have to live in the brokenness. And the only way to get through that is finding a way to forgive because we take on so much heaviness from the sins, from the brokenness before. And I think about Paul, Paul the Saurus and Saul. He was Saul. He was literally out there killing Christians, and then all of a sudden God said, "Hey, I need you to follow me," and he literally changed so much. He started one of the most pivotal people in the Bible, but he was broken. Imagine Saddam Hussein. My pastor says this. Imagine Saddam Hussein came in the room right now. You know,
Yeah, I got it.
but was somebody with this level of just evilness and said, "Hey, like I need you to follow me. Like my life has changed." You'd be like, "Man, I'm scared of this guy. What am I doing?" But you see that things can change. But man, you've got to learn to forgive. You've got to learn to surrender. You've got to learn to really look, pray like it's up to God, work like it's up to you.
Mm.
And I think it's really important to do that. And, I think that's the point that really just, the slow transition, it wasn't overnight. But once I started taking out one of those things, like alcohol or being out in the wrong environments that weren't leading me closer to where I needed to be or wanted to be or where he had me in an expectation to be, I just got the demon out of the room, bro.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pray like it's up to God and work like it's up to you.
Amen.
Man, I'm gonna tell you what, Chelsea, we might have to put that on the walls around this
Yeah.
place. I'll tell you. Chelsea's over there laughing at me. I'm like, man, that one's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, yeah.
I gotta find that one to put on one of our
Yeah.
posters, right? Whew. I love that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think you're right. Forgiveness is a very tough thing, and sometimes the toughest forgiveness is the one for ourselves.
Man.
I found that in my life, there are times where I haven't made the right decision because I felt like I deserved to stay where I was.
Stuck
And
and stupid.
yeah, because I felt like that's what I deserved.
Yeah. Man.
Hey, listen, I don't deserve anything more because of my past failures.
Yep.
I don't deserve to make more money or to have more responsibility because that's not me. That's not for people like me.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is sometimes you have to forget that individual in the past if you want to become this new person, as we talked about over
Yep.
here. I'll tell you what, man. hanging out with you, I get some good energy.
Yeah.
I like it. You already are a leader of how many hundreds of dealerships there are for Roof Maxx. You've done an amazing job there.
Appreciate it.
It was so much fun getting a chance to meet you a couple weeks ago. I'm so happy we got a chance to sit down here. I look forward to seeing your success, your son's success. We're right down the street from one another. Everybody, it's James Canata, Roof Maxx. I'll put all their information right here below the video.
Awesome.
Get in touch with you. And for roofers, the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
Somebody get in touch with this guy and be honest, all right? Make some money, all right? So good to see you. Thank you a lot, brother. I appreciate it.